Listeners, welcome back to the Magic Story Podcast, your guide to the planes, characters, and stories of Magic's Multiverse. I'm one of your co-hosts, Harless.
And I am your other co-host, Natalie. And folks, today we aren't just returning for another episode of the podcast. We are reopening the doors to one of Magic's most famous, most powerful, most plane-shaking compendiums of multiversal knowledge. The Mystical Archive has returned with Secrets of Strixhaven, and it has never looked better.
We were, of course, first introduced to the Mystical Archive back in 2021's Strixhaven School of Mages. And these were special cards that were separate from the main set, with each one depicting a famous spell from Magic's history in an all-new frame. And since we're returning to Strixhaven for another year of arcane studies, the Mystical Archive has also made a return.
Once again, these cards depict iconic spells from Magic history, this time, though, with an updated look that you'll only find on cards from the Mystical Archive. And since we're studying up for our global release of Secrets of Strixhaven on April 24th, we wanted to bring on some esteemed educators of all things related to the Mystical Archive.
Join us as we head into the multiverse and the Mystical Archive. Before we dive into the creative craft behind Secrets of Strixhaven's Mystical Archive cards, we thought we should set the stage for what the Mystical Archive is and how it came to be. And there is no one better at talking about the Mystical Archive than one of its original creators. Please welcome Tom Jenkot, Magic's Director of Booster Fun and one of the minds behind the Mystical Archive. Tom, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, Harless and Natalie. It's such an honor. Big fan, long-time listener, first-time podcaster with you guys. So thanks for having me here, Natalie and Harless.
We're so excited to have you here. So I know you have obviously been here since I started working here, but that's because you've been here for quite a while. Can you tell us a little bit about your time at Wizards?
Yeah, I've been here. I'm in my 18th happy year here at Wizards. Had many roles. Started off at the on the website where my whole job was to read 2 articles a day and come up with images for them, sometimes humorous. And in that time, since then, I came to the studio in 2019 to start working on Booster Fun and Secret Lair Drop. And it was pretty much me, creative-wise, that did all of that stuff. So since then, I've kind of worked on all the Booster Fun and a lot of the Secret Lair Drops. I worked on all of the Mystical Archive, the 63 worldwide versions of the cards and the 63 Japanese cards. Now I lead a big team of creatives, which really has helped us up the bar with the creative for Booster Fun.
So I know that Eldraine was the first time that we saw Booster Fun, and then we moved on to Theros Beyond Death. And I think that's when you came in and took everything over, and everything since then has been...
Yeah. The team, the studio had created those 2 booster funds and realized, oh, this is a whole job. And so they talked to me and brought me on to start working from, I think it's the Zendikar set after the Theros in there.
Yeah.
And then the Kaldheim and all of that, all the Secret Lair Drop stuff too. It was a lot of work. Yeah.
And now you have just the most amazing team working with you, which is one of my favorite places to be in the studio when I'm in the office.
You do stop over.
Yeah,
I do.
I was
and
about
you don't
to say,
stop over often enough.
Yeah, I used to sit right next to you, Tom, and I remember like seeing all these amazing art pieces, and it just it was a privilege to sit next to you at the office because I got to see all of the cool Booster Fun things coming in.
It's so fun. Right now we have 8 art directors, and I think all of them, if you ask them, would say they have the best job. So
we talked about this a bit earlier, but we know this isn't our first time delving into the Mystical Archive, and you helped bring the original iteration to life. And so for all folks who are new out there to Magic, what is the Mystical Archive?
Yeah, sure. It is visually capturing the first time a magic spell was cast. So these are things that are kept in the biblioplex at the Strixhaven University, right? You can imagine going in there, taking a book off the shelf, opening it up, and seeing a page of the first time lightning bolt was cast.
What a moment as a student to open that book. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And what a moment for us to open the card.
What a moment to open that in the card. I remember opening the original Strixhaven School of Mages and getting some of those Mystical Archive cards, and I was just amazed at what it represented and also how it visually looked.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was a student, at Strixhaven. It was awesome.
Right. Great. Perfect. Yeah. That's exactly what we were going for.
So I'm curious, Tom, who were kind of the original conceptors behind the original Mystical Archive back when we did it for Strixhaven School of Mages?
Yeah. So I worked really closely with Doug Beyer. It was really him and I like trying to figure out what this was. It was a big like bonus sheet of 63 cards. And so him and I like really captured like the visual style. He wrote all the concepts. I commissioned all of the art, right? So
wow,
there was like 63 Mystical Archive cards for the worldwide version, and then another 63 for the Japanese Mystical Archive. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. You can see the fingerprint of the Mystical Archive on all of the bonus sheets that came after it, right? And we're talking the Multiverse Legends from March of the Machine. We're talking the Enchanting Tales from Wilds of Eldraine, or the Stellar Sights from Edge of Eternities. I mean, all of these bonus sheets draw from that skeleton that you had established in the original Mystical Archive. And it just continues to iterate on what makes the bonus sheets so special.
Through all those bonus sheets, the creative is like really evolved. The team has grown bigger, lots more experts on hand to really, drive the success of those. The excellent execution of those is really showing through in this new version of the Mystical Archive as well.
So when we first announced our return to Strixhaven, a lot of fans predicted we were going to bring back the Mystical Archive. And of course we did. It's just so integral to Strixhaven University at this point. It just feels like, how could you not? But a part of that return means making some changes. So what's different in this trip to the archive?
You're right, Harless. Of course, we had to go back to this. Everybody loved them. They've turned out so well. One of the things we did when we decided we were going back is we looked at how we executed on that original frame and that original art. And so we wanted to make sure that we hit that bar or improved on that bar, right? And so we made sure to bring in a bunch of the same artists, and we talk about that a little bit. But one of the most interesting things was looking at that frame. We didn't want to mess with it, right? But we tried a few things, and we got into a spot where we liked it a little better. And really the update there was to make a semi-transparent text box to let some of that art that was covered up in the original Mystical Archive to shine through.
Yeah. I just love that you see more of the art. I think that was one of the best improvements we could have made to an already, let's be honest, perfect frame from its first execution, is just to make it a little bit more transparent to see more of the art that was in the background there. So I love the new iteration.
It also speaks to the fact that sometimes something, it's just the smallest kind of tweak can make such a big impact.
Yeah, the frame was really good. I'm glad you like it. Perfect is,
it is.
That's
it's a perfect frame. Yeah.
And it was really just kind of improving on, that perfection. But we wanted to maintain most of that frame. So nothing's really changed except for the text box.
Now, we had Dalton Pecorina on one of our most recent episodes to talk about the Fable frames from Lorwyn. I'm assuming he worked on this one as well.
He did. He's our go-to guy. Man, that guy he creates things beyond what we ask him for. He's always surprising us. So yeah, really happy to have him working on all the frames.
Well, kudos, Dalton.
Yeah.
Did amazing. So I want to take a moment to shout out some of the phenomenal flavor text on some of these cards. These little snippets just help recontextualize or maybe just add some more depth to some stunning art pieces. Take Feed the Swarm, which depicts this hulking insectile creature that looks a little familiar.
And then the flavor text reveals that this is the insect planeswalker Grist from Modern Horizons 2 and 3. And it reads, "You cannot fight the hunger tide. You can only run, hide, and pray." Which is attributed to an entry in a tattered journal, which is such a fun way of taking a widely played card and tying it back into the multiverse of Magic. So I am so excited that we're bringing some of the artists back, some that we get to see a lot at MagicCon, some that I've had the pleasure of meeting, one of my favorites, Dominic Mayer.
Yeah, we were excited to bring a lot of these artists back, right? We definitely looked at the old Mystical Archive and picked out the ones that really killed it back then. And Dominic was at the top of the list, right? Dominic I just hired him for his first Magic card on the set before that, Zendikar Rising. And
that's so wild because he's just such a
he's a staple now. Yeah. And then he did the Mystical Archive, and then he's just all over Magic, and I love it for him. We had so many other artists kind of come back, like Ravenna Kai and Matthew Lewis, Justin and Alexis Hernandez. so many other ones, but then a lot of new ones too, because all the team kind of pitched in on finding, the artist that could do the thing at the best at an elevated level. Since the first one, we brought on a Japanese art director, Tokyo-based art director, this guy named Yuuki Koizumi. And of course, he knows Japanese art like better than anybody on the team. So handing him all of those mystical archive for the Japanese mystical archive was perfect. And you will see that elevation of that set of cards.
They're stunning.
Yeah.
I haven't looked through all of them. I'm trying to restrain myself from looking at all of the cards so that I can have some surprise and delight when I open them. But it is taking all of my willpower.
They're so incredible.
So good. All right, Tom, before we head to our next topic, we wanted to give you a chance to shout out some of the other creative minds behind these cards. I know that so many people contribute to this process, and we want to celebrate everyone who made these so magical.
Well, thank you. The whole team at this point had contributed. We already mentioned Dalton, Sarah Wassel commissioned art, Aliana Rude commissioned art, I commissioned art. Yuuki, of course, we just mentioned. We all contributed to the success of this, and all of our voices were needed for all the different components, not just the Mystical Archive. So thank you to all of you.
Well, we've got plenty more to cover from the Mystical Archive, and it looks like our conversation is going to take the Magic Story podcast global. Before we hop over to our next guest, we want to thank you so much, Tom, for joining us, but also your amazing work on this set and everything that you did for the Mystical Archive and beyond. I know this was an absolutely monumental project, and I think you absolutely aced it, and I think players are going to be absolutely thrilled to see these.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. The team did an amazing job here. So happy to help. Have me back anytime.
Part of what's so exciting about the Mystical Archive is seeing this diverse array of art styles on some of our favorite Magic cards. In fact, the Mystical Archive has a whole array of cards featuring artwork from Japanese artists and illustrators, complete with its own frame.
To talk about these cards, we've brought on senior art director Yuuki Koizumi, who's calling in all the way from Japan. Yuuki has been instrumental in bringing some of our favorite booster fund treatments to life, and these Japanese Mystical Archive cards are no exception. Yuuki, welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for your work on Secrets of Strixhaven.
Hi, Natalie and Harless. Thanks for having me here. I'm Yuuki Koizumi. I'm a senior art director on the Booster Fund team based in Tokyo.
With this set's iteration of the Mystical Archive, there are 65 cards from Magic that are being pulled from the history books and depicted in this style. But each of those cards has a standard version and a Japanese Mystical Archive version. So that's 2 super stylized pieces of art for every card in the archive. And Yuuki, I kind of want to know, what was it like to take lead on these Japanese Mystical Archive cards?
A lot of my work involves collaborating with a Japanese artist and exploring culturally inspired aesthetics while staying true to Magic art style. I've worked on projects like the Japanese alternate art for Bloom Baron and the Japan Showcase series. And I also collaborate with artists from around the world time to time. I'm really grateful to Tom for trusting me with such a wide range of styles and commissions. It's broadened my perspective and pushed me to keep growing as an art director.
There are so many awesome selections in the Mystical Archive. You've got these famous cards like Jeska's Will, Force of Will, and Akroma's Will. A lot of powerful cards with will in the title now that I think about it. And a lot of these cards depict known Magic characters like the aforementioned Jeska and Akroma.
We get to see these super recognizable characters from the history of Magic in a way that they really don't often appear in. And Yuuki, what was it like to take these moments from the lore and mythology of the Magic multiverse and reimagine them in this new style?
Well, I have to admit, I'm still relatively new to the Magic universe. My understanding has deepened over the past few years, but I'm still constantly learning the lore and the characters in a way that allows me to approach them with fresh eyes. At the same time, maintaining authenticity is extremely important. I pay close attention not only to the physical details of each character, but also to their background, their motives, their history, their personality, and what specific side of them we want to portray in the card art. I'm also very grateful for the support from our game writers who help ensure everything stays aligned with the original lore. And our product lead in Japan, Masahiro Kamada, has been an incredible resource. He's loved Magic since the very beginning, and then his deep knowledge helps me catch even the smallest misalignments right away. With Jessica's well, for example, we went through multiple rounds of revisions, especially refining the background colors and the way the flames were portrayed to make sure we captured not just her likeness, but her aura and her presence as well.
Every card here feels so unique, and that even extends to the two versions of each Mystical Archive card. So you can take the two versions of these cards, and you can tell that they're representing the same thing, but the creative expression just feels so different. So how did you go about creating a distinction between these Japanese Mystical Archive cards and the rest of the archive?
A big part of it comes down to stylistic choices, things like shape language, color palette, and then composition. We wanted each version to feel very distinct, even when they are representing the same spell. Tom always encourages me to push further to make the pieces more dynamic and more fun, without ever losing the core focus of the card. For example, with the Cyclonic Rift, the main idea is the chaos and the destructive force of the storm. The original concept mentioned people and animals being swept away, but didn't specify any particular character. I thought it could be interesting to bring a cat into the scene, holding onto a banner and trying not to be blown away. The small shift added a personality and a bit of humor while still keeping the cyclone the central focus. For me, distinction comes from reinterpreting the same spell through a different visual language with a small storytelling shift and an intentional creative pivot during development.
Apart from just making these feel distinct from their other Mystical Archive counterparts, these cards also step outside the bounds of traditional Magic style. So you've got these beautiful ink brush illustrations or pieces of art that take pieces of Japanese culture and bring them into the Magic multiverse.
All of these cards feel so at home together, like they're pulled out of the same spellbook, right? And what were some of the styles and inspirations that you pulled from, Yuuki, when you were commissioning these pieces and working with artists?
For the standard Japanese mystical archive style, we developed guidelines that focus mainly on composition and tone. We intentionally kept them simple, things like maintaining a flatter perspective or using more muted color palette. Instead of setting strict rules, we referenced previous cards as examples. I really wanted the artists to feel a sense of freedom, so they could bring their own creativity into the work while still staying within a shared visual framework. Many of the artists had worked on the previous set, so they were already very familiar with that foundation. I think they understood better than me, to be honest. At the same time, we wanted to push things a bit farther than before. We started exploring additional styles that could still live comfortably within the broader Japanese aesthetic. For example, some cards felt like a good fit for Yokai-ga, which translates to creature painting in English, or Choju-giga, which is another art form of frolicking animals from 12th century. Rather than giving very specific visual references, we simply named those traditional styles and selected artists whose existing work already aligned with those visual languages. That allowed the pieces to feel cohesive while still giving each artist room to interpret the style in their own voice.
One of my absolute favorite things about these cards is how they combine the history of magic with art styles we just don't often get to spotlight. Take Armageddon, which shows the devastation of New Phyrexia in this beautiful illustration, or as beautiful as multiverse shaping events can be.
Yeah, there are a lot of cards in the Mystical Archive that depict the consequences or events of the Phyrexian invasion. And now that we're a few years removed in universe from the invasion, it's become part of like the mythos of magic, which is really cool. And it's something that's remembered by characters like Curel in the story. And it's also depicted on these pieces like Shieldred's Edict.
Yuuki, when you were working on the Mystical Archive, what were some of the ways that you incorporated the history of magic into the cards?
We provided a reference to previous version of the cards, along with the detailed art descriptions to help guide the artist. But for me, the real key to honoring magic history is understanding the core elements of the event or story being depicted. As long as those key elements are clearly recognizable, we can stay true to the narrative, even if the visual style is being reinterpreted. For more complex pieces like Armageddon, we went through several early rounds of revision to make sure everything felt intentional, accurate, and respectful of the card's legacy.
Genuinely, every single card in the Mystical Archive is just stunning. Like, truly. I'm obsessed. But I'm curious if there's any cards in particular that you want to highlight. Are there any cards that you feel are just really emblematic of what makes the Mystical Archive so special?
Wow, it's honestly hard to pick just one favorite, but if I had to choose, Rebel Calamity would definitely be at the top of my list. The style feels incredibly authentic to traditional ukiyo-e. What I love the most is where the man grabs the dragon with his bare hand. It creates this intense dramatic confrontation. The tension between them is so palpable, and the expression on his face just sells the entire scene. Another one I absolutely love is Locust Spray. The artist captured the emotion so vividly that when I look at it, I can almost feel the sting of the insects myself. The discomfort is so tangible that I instinctively want to brush the bags away. Those are the kind of pieces that really excite me when art doesn't just look beautiful, but actually makes me physically react.
Well, Yuuki, thank you so much for talking with us about these cards and just for being such a huge part of bringing the Mystical Archive to life. This is genuinely one of the highlights of Secrets of Strixhaven, and I cannot wait for these to get into the hands of players.
Oh, absolutely. Now, before we close out the episode, is there anything you want to highlight about this project that we did not get a chance to talk about yet?
I truly enjoyed working on every piece of the Japanese Mystical Archive. Blending traditional Japanese art with a modern approach was incredibly rewarding, and it gave us the opportunity to introduce additional styles that brought a fresh perspective to the set, offering the fans a new way to experience these cards. I'd like to take a moment to express my appreciation to Tom for giving me the creative freedom to help us shape this set and guide the overall direction. That level of trust meant a great deal to me. I also want to thank the game designers who were open to pivot descriptions so that pieces could feel more authentic to Japanese culture and aesthetics. They were really open to my weird suggestions as well. So I really thankful for that. And of course, huge thanks you to all the artists who worked on the set. Their talent and dedication truly brought these ideas to life. I truly hope fans enjoy the Japanese style versions alongside the standard version, and maybe see magic through a slightly different lens. If even one card makes someone pause and look a little closer, I think we did something special.
I just have to say, these look so good. Like every single piece of art that we're showing here, every card, I'm just blown away by what we're seeing.
I cannot wait to see which of these cards I open in my collector booster.
Right? I'm so excited. The doors to the Mystical Archive are opening soon, and you can add these cards to your collection when Secrets of Strixhaven releases on April 24th. You even get this like cool themed pre-release pack, which means you can represent the best college. Silver Quill.
We can settle this debate at pre-release. And if you're interested in learning about these colleges, check out our episode with Lauren Bond and Matt Danner, where we gave you a campus tour of Strixhaven University. Plus, you can follow the story of the set across the 6-episode main story written by K. Arsenal Rivera and the 5 side stories we published during preview season. That's plenty of stories and plenty to get excited about.
The Magic Story podcast has a few surprises in store in the coming months. But for now, we've got to study up for our Strixhaven exams. And apparently this counts for like half of our final grades. So Harless and I, we need to hit the books. We'll see you at pre-release on April 17th. But until then,
have a magical day.